wind moved quietly across the open land, lifting dust and dry grass as though the prairie itself was holding its breath. Clara stood beside the old wagon with her son pressed tightly against her, her arms wrapped around him as if she could shield him from the entire world. Her heart was pounding so loudly, she was certain the man in front of her could hear it. He was enormous, tall, broad, built like the kind of man stories were written about. His shadow fell over the wagon wheel, over her child. And in that moment Clara felt very small. Her son shifted in her arms, his fingers clenched into the fabric of her dress, and she felt the tremble run through him. She knew why. He had spoken out of turn. He had thrown a stone. He had acted in fear. And now she stood before the owner of the land, the giant rancher everyone whispered about, the man said to be as hard as the earth he worked. Clara swallowed and lowered her gaze. Her voice shook as she spoke. She apologized for her son, words tumbling out in a rush, her shame and fear bleeding through every syllable. She promised he meant no harm. She promised they would leave. She promised anything, everything, if only the man would not be angry. The rancher listened in silence. He did not interrupt her, did not raise his voice, did not move closer. His eyes rested not on her, but on the boy. The child's face was dirty, his cheeks hollow with hunger, his eyes too old for his age. The rancher had seen that look before, fear mixed with guilt, the kind that came from a life that had already been too heavy. Clara waited for judgment. She had known men who judged quickly, harshly. She had buried one of them. Her husband's face flashed in her mind, followed by the long months of grief, the empty nights, the endless road that had brought her here. She had lost her home, her security, and nearly her hope. All she had left was her son. The rancher finally spoke, his voice deep but calm, steady like the land beneath their feet. He smiled, not a mocking smile, not a cruel one, but something warm and unexpected. And in that smile, Clara felt something inside her loosen. He said words she had not prepared herself to hear. He said the boy did nothing wrong. He said fear makes children act and hunger makes them brave. He said he understood. Clara looked up, stunned. The rancher crouched slightly so he was closer to the boy's height. He asked the child his name. The boy hesitated, then whispered it. The rancher repeated it like it mattered. That alone nearly broke her. He asked what the stone was thrown at, and the boy admitted it had been aimed at the dog, not the man, because he thought it would bite his mother. The rancher glanced back at the large ranch dog sitting obediently nearby and nodded. He said protecting family was never something to apologize for. Clara felt tears spill freely now, hot and uncontrollable. She tried to speak again, but the words wouldn't come. The rancher stood and looked at the wagon, its broken axle, its thin supplies, the look of a journey that had gone on too long. He asked where they were headed. Clara admitted she didn't know anymore. Just away, just forward, just surviving. The rancher was quiet for a long moment, then said something that changed everything. He said they didn't have to leave. Not today, not hungry, not afraid. He offered them food, shelter, one night at least. Clara wanted to refuse. Pride tried to rise up, but exhaustion crushed it. And when her son looked at her with hope instead of fear for the first time in weeks, she nodded. That night, Clara lay awake in a clean bed beneath a solid roof, listening to the unfamiliar sound of quiet safety. Her son slept deeply beside her, his stomach full, his breathing slow and even. She stared at the ceiling and wondered how one moment could undo months of despair. The giant rancher, Elias, he had told her, had given them more than food. He had given them dignity. He spoke to her as if she mattered, as if her story was worth hearing. Over the following days, one night turned into several. Clara helped where she could, cooking, cleaning, mending clothes. Elias never made her feel indebted. He never hovered. He simply made space. She learned the ranch had once been full. Family, laughter, plans, but loss had hollowed it out. Elias carried his grief quietly, like a scar that no longer bled but still ached. In that shared understanding of loss, something gentle formed between them. Not romance at first, but trust, respect, safety. Her son began to smile again. He followed Elias around the ranch, asking questions, learning how to feed the animals, how to mend fences. Elias answered every question patiently. When the boy made mistakes, Elias corrected him without anger. Clara watched all of it with a heart that ached in a new way, this time with gratitude instead of fear. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the land gold, Clara finally spoke the truth she had been holding inside. She thanked Elias, not just for the shelter, but for the kindness. She admitted she had expected cruelty when they first met. Elias nodded and said people often expect the worst when life has given them little else. He said kindness costs nothing, but it can save everything. That night, as Clara stood on the porch watching her son laugh freely, for the first time in months, she realized she no longer felt like she was running. She felt like she had arrived. Time passed. What began as survival became belonging. Elias offered Clara honest work and fair pay. Eventually, he offered something more: partnership, not possession. A future built slowly, carefully, with respect. Clara accepted not out of desperation but choice. The boy called Elias by his name at first, then something closer to father, without anyone ever asking him to. And every time Clara thought back to that first moment by the wagon, when she had apologized with fear in her voice, she remembered Elias's smile. How it had undone her terror, how it had changed their fate. Some moments look small when they happen, but they shape entire lives. And if this story moved you, if you believe kindness can change destinies, if you believe strength doesn't have to be cruel, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us that compassion still matters, and by subscribing, you help keep these powerful stories alive and shared with the world.